Rich Shay here, unboxing Newton, a game from Cranio Creations and CMON by Nestore Mangone and Simone Luciani. Now, unlike many CMON games, this one is not about a bunch of miniatures. In Newton, you're trying to become the greatest scientist of your age. Well, okay, a decent scientist, trying to score the most points. In some ways, it's a very point salad-y kind of game. There's components, a map you travel around, the track you go on. There's actually 2 tracks on here. The most important part is your individual study board. We'll get to that in a minute. There's lots of objective and invention and development tiles, things that go in different places, changing up the game. Some master cards, action cards, which are the heart of taking the turns. A bunch of markers for you. You have students and your scientist. There's money. And a bunch of tiles, and a first player token that's a green apple. I guess you could get hit in the head with a green apple. You wouldn't eat it, you'd have to think until it turned ripe. Alright, so you set up the map, you sort of randomly place markers on it, so the map configuration is going to be different in every game. Then down here, there's your students have this development track that's going to have different bonuses on it, and then there's another track here to earn the money to pay for your education. Action cards, you can see player setup. The rules are pretty straightforward. The one time that I played, we had to look in the rules once in a while, but it wasn't hard to find what you needed, so that was good. A lot of illustrations, explanations of how the different bonuses, developments, inventions, and city tiles all work. You spend a lot of time looking at that section. And then there are a lot of things that do different things. The master cards are great scientists and other people from the period, except for maybe he's only in the bonus thing. Stephen Hawking was in our game. I don't know how he got there. I don't think that's a bonus thing, so not in there. So here are the individual player boards. What you're basically going to be doing is filling in rows and columns in your library. Let's make that a little closer. By doing different things, collecting books, going to places on the map. So you obviously have to do collections of those things. And during the scoring that happens at the end of each turn, each row and column that you filled in will score some points. There are also some spaces on here for special point earning things that you can just place on there. So basically you're trying to fill in your collections, and that is going to be how you score the points. There are some cubes that you'll take off of here. As you take the cubes off in clear areas, you'll get some rewards, and getting down to the end gets you more. You're placing cards, and we'll get to those cards in a minute, to take actions. But one of the things that happens in the game is that the actions will be multiplied by cards that you place out of your hand. You have to do every turn. Okay. It's an individual player board, and they'll be indicated like this is the travel one, and so you always have, when you play a travel card, you'll get 2 travel, one for this and one for the travel on the card. Here's the development thing. Students go on here, and as you move them along the tracks, they will gather some rewards and get some benefits based on what gets placed on these randomly, so they'll be different. One of the things with the student tracks is when they get to the end of a track, they're done. They can't use them for anything else. This track, you move along here. Every time you pass a space, you'll get a money, and then there'll be another reward here and a money and a bigger reward here, and then a special thing here, and then another big reward at the end. Again, when you get to the end of the track, oh, actually there's one more here. I guess you can get money each time you do it again. But when you get to the end of the track, there's no more big benefits. So one of the things with this game is to not overdo one thing. First game I played, I get to the end of the money track very quickly, and I was very proud of myself, except that now I couldn't do anything with that kind of move anymore. So those cards were clogging up my hand. Another player board. And wow, there's an issue. My box seems to be damaged, and these counters are scratched. Well, that's not very good. I guess I'll have to get in touch with them about that. The punch card quality is okay, not fabulously thick, not luxuriant, and I guess I'm kind of unhappy about the scratching, but I like the game. This is the map where your large token travels around. There are universities at the different big cities, and you visit some ancient sites to get different kinds of other wisdom, and those are things that when you go to them, you get to mark it on your here. You'll see the markers for those, like this here, the university markers, the ancient sites markers. You can see that they're coded. So this ancient site, if you visit to where that is, then you get to mark this space in your library. The library card. Then there are more components. These are the bonus, the 5 kinds of actions you can take on the board or getting cards. Oops. The wooden bits. You can see here's the green marker to use on the travel map, and here's one of the green students to use on the lower branching part, and green cubes to mark things. And then there are some other markers. The cubes are the ones you place on your board and take off as you do things. The deck of cards here, these are cards. You play a card on each of your turns. Which both gives you an action and a resource, in this case a blue book. The cards are gradated. These are the harder to get cards, level 3, level 2, level 1. Level 1 cards would tend to have a single resource. Some of them don't even have any resource. You'll have a starting set of cards too. If we go to level, I like the starting. Here's the starting cards for orange. They're marked on the back, so they're easy to separate out. Let's find a level 2 card here. Here's a level 2 card. So it's got 2 books on it, or get 2 coins is an instant effect. I'm sure you can figure that out if you played some Euros, or a combination of effects. When you get to level 3, it's more complicated. You get to take an action, pay 2 coins less when you travel. Travel costs money, of course. And on the bottom part, we have the action that you take when you play the card. Research, I think that's earning some money. That's taking more cards. Oh, that, by the way, is the Joker. It can be any of the symbols. And which ones? Travel. Travel cards. Travel, take cards. Play books, that's the covering the book spaces in your library is a separate action, not something that happens on one of the boards. And the last set of cards are the scientist cards. You earn some of them. During the game, you'll earn some. And when you play them, they may be worth victory points. Here we go. Here's 4 victory points for Giordano Bruno, okay, and they all have an effect. Boyle lets you do cards. Tycho Brahe gives you 2 permanent blue cards. Thomas Brown, I think, lets you take some cards. Giordano Bruno just gives you a big pile of cash. Rene Descartes, I think, an instant card and a turn. So Margaret Cavendish, there's a whole bunch of people, and I don't think Yeah, I guess we had Hawkins in our game, but I think that's an expansion that I don't have. So those are the components, except for that little issue I had with the box here. That I'm not happy about that. And the scratched component. I enjoyed playing the game, and I look forward to playing it more. It's a point salad game for sure. You can see all the different actions, get different points, different ways. Try to have the most points at the end. The geography of the map layout is really important to study when you start the game. I didn't realize that at first, but that's variable, and as a result, because of the way this is set up in a fixed way, but the ease with which you can get different related components is going to vary in the game, so that some rows and columns are going to be easier to obtain than others, maybe based on your position. Okay, so there's actually a lot of depth to the game, a lot of decisions to make. I enjoyed it a lot. I look forward to playing it more. That's Newton. It's not as scientific as a game Cytosis that I opened, but it is a interesting point salad-y kind of game with a lot of things going on, deck development and undevelopment. You have to get rid of a card from your deck at the end of every turn, but the action of the deck becomes a multiplier, well, a bonus +1 for the action in all your future turns when you play that action. So they're actually interesting decisions to make. Plus, of course, you'd much rather get rid of a card that doesn't have an upper bonus than the same card that does have an upper bonus, because this is useful as useful as a multiplier as it is any other time, whereas this one is going to give you a book every time you play it. All right, well, thank you for watching. Again, as you know from watching my other videos, I'm involved in MeepleLeague.com, where we're trying to advance competitive play of board games in different venues. Plus, we have some online leagues. Hope you'll check that out and watch for future unboxings, and maybe look at some of my older ones of games you might be interested in. Thanks for watching. Bye.